Welcome to our video exploring the shifting global landscape. Today, we dive into the top 10 countries distancing themselves from the United States, examining the economic, diplomatic, and cultural factors driving these changes. From trade tensions to new alliances, these nations are reshaping their priorities in a rapidly evolving world. Join us as we uncover the reasons behind this pivot and what it means for global relations. Let's get started. 10. Australia. Australia's close ties with the United States are fraying due to trade uncertainties and shifting global priorities. The United States' tariff policies and inward-looking stance have raised concerns, prompting Australia to strengthen economic ties within Asia to reduce reliance on the United States markets. Public sentiment in Australia increasingly questions the United States' role as a dependable ally, with growing skepticism about its global leadership. While security cooperation, particularly through alliances like AUKUS, remains intact, Australia is diversifying its diplomatic and trade relationships to mitigate risks from the United States' unpredictability. Cultural connections persist, but political and economic frictions are driving a subtle pivot toward regional partnerships. Australia's moves reflect a pragmatic response to a changing global order, seeking to balance its historical alignment with the United States against the need for greater autonomy and resilience in an uncertain geopolitical landscape. 9. South Korea. South Korea's alliance with the United States is under strain as concerns grow about the United States' reliability in the face of regional threats. Public sentiment in South Korea reflects unease with the United States' policies, particularly fears of being sidelined in broader geopolitical deals involving rivals. The United States' trade pressures and demands for increased defense contributions have prompted South Korea to explore greater self-reliance, including debates over developing its own strategic capabilities. While military and economic ties with the United States remain strong, South Korea is diversifying partnerships within Asia to hedge against the United States' unpredictability. Cultural exchanges continue, but political trust is waning as South Korea navigates a complex regional landscape. This cautious shift reflects a desire to balance dependence on the United States with a more autonomous role in global and regional affairs, prioritizing national security and economic stability. 8. Iran. Iran's deep-seated antagonism toward the United States persists, rooted in decades of sanctions, nuclear disputes, and regional rivalries. The United States' policies, particularly its support for Israel and aggressive sanctions, have pushed Iran to strengthen ties with Russia, China, and other non-Western powers. Public sentiment in Iran views the United States as an existential threat, fueling a national narrative of resistance. Iran's pursuit of nuclear capabilities and regional influence is partly a response to the United States' containment efforts. Economically, Iran is diversifying trade to reduce reliance on markets influenced by the United States, focusing on Asian and Eurasian partnerships. While diplomatic channels occasionally open, trust remains negligible. Iran's strategic calculus prioritizes autonomy and alliances that counter the United States' dominance, marking a clear rejection of engagement or reconciliation with the United States in favor of alternative global alignments. 7. Russia. Russia's adversarial stance toward the United States has solidified, driven by sanctions, military tensions, and competing global visions. The United States' support for opposing factions and regional conflicts fuels Russia's pivot to non-Western alliances, particularly with China and other BRICS nations. Public sentiment in Russia overwhelmingly views the United States as a hostile force, with state narratives amplifying this perception. Russia's push for de-dollarization and energy partnerships outside the United States sphere reflects a deliberate effort to undermine the United States' economic influence. While direct confrontation is avoided, Russia's strategic moves prioritize self-sufficiency and alternative global networks over engagement with the United States. Cultural and economic ties are minimal, overshadowed by mutual distrust. Russia's trajectory signals a long-term divergence, as it seeks to reshape global power dynamics away from the United States' dominance and toward a multipolar world order. 6. Turkey. Turkey's relationship with the United States has deteriorated due to long-standing geopolitical disagreements and differing strategic interests. The United States' support for certain regional actors and its role in NATO tensions have deepened mistrust in Turkey, where public sentiment strongly opposes the United States' influence. Turkey is pivoting toward closer ties with Russia and China, seeking economic and military partnerships that reduce reliance on the United States. While still a NATO member, Turkey's actions, like purchasing non-Western defense systems, signal a rejection of the United States' dominance in regional security. Cultural and economic ties with the United States remain, but they are overshadowed by Turkey's pursuit of an independent foreign policy. This shift reflects Turkey's desire to assert itself as a regional power, prioritizing partnerships that align with its interests over alignment with the United States' global agenda. 5. France. France's alignment with the United States is weakening amid trade tensions and divergent global priorities. The United States' unilateral policies, including tariffs and withdrawal from international accords, have spurred France to advocate for European strategic autonomy. Public opinion in France increasingly views the United States as an unreliable partner, with skepticism about its commitment to multilateralism. France is deepening ties with non-Western powers and investing in European defense to reduce dependence on the United States' security umbrella. Economic and cultural connections persist, but France's leadership is vocal about charting an independent course, particularly on climate and technology. The United States' inward focus has prompted France to prioritize regional alliances and global partnerships that bypass traditional reliance on the United States. This shift underscores France's ambition to lead a more self-sufficient Europe, distancing itself from the United States' influence while maintaining necessary diplomatic ties. 4. Germany. Germany's relationship with the United States is growing distant as trade disputes and differing views on global leadership create friction. The United States' tariff threats and withdrawal from multilateral agreements have pushed Germany to prioritize European unity and economic independence. Public sentiment in Germany increasingly questions the United States' reliability, with many favoring stronger intra-European defense and trade frameworks. The United States' America First stance clashes with Germany's commitment to global cooperation on issues like climate change. While economic ties remain significant, Germany is diversifying its partnerships, particularly with Asia, to reduce reliance on the United States. Cultural exchanges continue, but political trust has eroded, with Germany viewing the United States as less predictable. This shift reflects a broader European trend toward strategic autonomy, as Germany seeks to navigate global challenges without leaning heavily on the United States' leadership or economic influence. 3. Mexico. Mexico's ties with the United States are fraying under the weight of trade disputes and migration policies. The United States' tariffs and demands for stricter border control have sparked tensions, prompting Mexico to seek alternative trade partners in Asia and Europe. Public opinion in Mexico increasingly views the United States as a domineering neighbor, with policies perceived as undermining mutual cooperation. Mexico's role as a buffer for migration to the United States has fueled domestic discontent, with calls for economic retaliation if trade pressures intensify. While the United States remains a critical market, Mexico's government is prioritizing regional alliances and diversifying its economic base to reduce dependence. Cultural ties persist, but political rhetoric on both sides has strained goodwill. Mexico's cautious pivot reflects a balancing act, maintaining necessary ties with the United States while carving out greater autonomy in a shifting global landscape. 2. Canada. Canada's relationship with the United States is cooling due to trade tensions and differing policy priorities. The United States' aggressive tariff policies and migration rhetoric have strained cross-border cooperation, pushing Canada to diversify its economic partnerships beyond its southern neighbor. Canadians increasingly view the United States with skepticism, questioning its reliability as a global leader. Diplomatically, Canada is exploring stronger ties with Europe and Asia to hedge against the United States' unpredictability. Cultural and economic ties remain strong, but public sentiment reflects frustration with the United States' unilateral approach to issues like climate and trade. Canada's pivot is subtle, driven by a need to protect its economic interests and assert its own identity on the global stage. While still a close ally, Canada's moves toward greater autonomy signal a cautious distancing from the United States' influence in both policy and perception. 1. China. China's growing distance from the United States stems from escalating trade disputes and geopolitical rivalry. The United States' tariffs on Chinese goods have pushed Beijing to strengthen economic ties with Europe, Latin America, and Africa, while promoting de-dollarization through alternative financial systems.
China's global influence is rising, with many nations viewing it as a counterbalance to the United States' dominance.
Diplomatically, China's assertiveness in the South China Sea and its Belt and Road Initiative signal a shift away from reliance on the United States markets or leadership. Public sentiment in China reflects deep skepticism of the United States' intentions, fueled by narratives of containment and sanctions. While not entirely severing ties, China's pursuit of self-reliance in technology and trade, alongside closer partnerships with non-Western powers, underscores a strategic pivot that challenges the United States' global hegemony and reshapes bilateral dynamics.